Wow, the Raiders suffered another embarrassing defeat, this time against the Los Angeles Rams. But the biggest story of the night is head coach Antonio Pierce coming under fire for some of his suspect and sketchy decision making. We're gonna break this down and this Raiders versus Rams matchup. Immediately after the game, you had tons of NFL fans and Raiders fans, people who are serious figures in the NFL. I'm talking about people who make content for CBS and some of the biggest networks. They're all criticizing Antonio Pierce and this decision that he made late in the fourth quarter. And there's some other things going on. I don't want to say anything too crazy, but you got people pointing this out. Now, the big blow happened early in the game. Aiden O'Connell, who had recently replaced Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback, well, he ended up dealing with an injury, and this is actually a significant injury. He broke his thumb. I originally was thinking, hey, maybe the guy dislocated it and he'll at least be back, but things got pretty awkward in the beginning of the game because think about this from Gardner Minshew's perspective. You were just benched. You were just told you were the problem. You were the liability on the offense. Your confidence must have taken a blow after that. Aiden O'Connell's replacing you, and then boom, Aiden O'Connell's injured. You're right back in the lineup. So immediately after the first drive, the Raiders had to go with the guy who they had just benched a few weeks ago, Gardner Minshew. Thank you to Good Chop, who is the sponsor of today's video. Good Chop provides fully customizable boxes of high-quality meat and seafood delivered to your door on your schedule. They are vacuum sealed and flash frozen at peak freshness, so you can stock your freezer and cook when you want. My absolute favorite from Good Chop is their ribeye steaks and their New York strip steaks, man. This is absolutely delicious. All you need is some salt and pepper. Grill that thing up and it is so good. You can save time and money with Good Chop. Good Chop's price per meal starts at $3.32. You don't need to waste time looking for quality cuts at the grocery store, and they always jack up the prices. Save a deal, order at home with Good Chop. My absolute favorite thing about Good Chop is the fact that there is only the good stuff. They source meat that comes with no antibiotics and no added hormones ever. So go to goodchop.com/YouTube and use code WiFi130 or click the link in the description and pinned comment below to get $130 off across your first 4 boxes. That's goodchop.com/YouTube. Use code WiFi130 or click the link below to get $130 off across your first 4 boxes. Now, we cannot blame Gardner Minshew for everything. The Raiders' offensive line was bad. It was just bad. He was under fire, under pressure the entire day. And there was a big moment, which I think was the turning point in the game when Gardner Minshew was sacked. It was returned for a touchdown. The guy did not have a chance to even get this football off. And this was a huge moment because when you think about the beginning of the game, even after Aiden O'Connell was injured on the first drive, the Raiders were winning. It was 3-0. The Raiders defense was really getting after Matthew Stafford. By the way, both of these teams were dealing with tons of injuries in this game. The Raiders were without Jacoby Myers, who is now their #1 wide receiver, now that Devontae Adams has been traded to the New York Jets. But when you look at the LA Rams, they have no Puka Nacua, no Cooper Kupp in this game, and they were still able to get the dub against the Raiders. But the fumble was not the only significant turnover in this game. Obviously, you saw the stat sheet. Gardner Minshew had some horrible interceptions, and there was one when him and Brock Bowers, the tight end who's doing great, were just not on the same page. It was a key interception. This guy's confidence was destroyed after that, and then you had that strip fumble for a sack turnover right after that. So there was literally 2 drives back to back where Minshew was involved in a turnover, and that was devastating. It was so hard for this guy to come back from that. The whole day, the Raiders offense had to settle for field goals when they were not turning the ball over. And when you look at the majority of the matchup, the Rams offense really only got points off of Raiders turnovers. Whenever the Raiders would throw an interception, which happened again and again and again, then the Rams would finally be able to punch it in for a touchdown with their running back Kyren Williams. So Gardner Minshew's mistakes really were critical, happened in the third quarter, happened late in the game, and also happened in the beginning of the game. And the 3 turnovers, technically 4 turnovers if you count the fumble, 3 turnovers in 3 straight games is tied for their longest streak in the last 15 seasons. So Raiders are literally turning the ball over at a historic rate. And another stat that was mentioned in the broadcast, I don't have have it right in front of me right now, but one stat that was mentioned in the broadcast after Nate Hobbs was able to get his interception, I was happy to see him get this interception, and it really brought life into the team, and it made us feel like maybe there could be a comeback here. Well, that interception was one of the few interceptions on the year for the Raiders. I didn't even realize this, but the fact is the Raiders are forcing takeaways at one of the lowest rates in history. We are not getting turnovers, and we are instead giving up turnovers at literally a historic rate. Now, I want to talk about something serious. Despite those turnovers, despite the fact that the Raiders offense couldn't get much going, there were still glimpses and there were still moments when they were able to move down the field. Obviously, they were able to get several field goals, and that's part of the reason why, is because they were able to somewhat move down the field. And this was ultimately a one-possession game. They did not get blown out. The Rams offense also could not dominate the Raiders defense. And I bring all this up to get to this critical moment late in the fourth quarter. And there are some crazy allegations going out there by people who are not me, other people really giving a lot of criticism to Antonio Pierce here, and I want you guys to hear it. So the spread, let's talk about the spread. The spread going into this game after Davante Adams was traded from the Raiders to the Jets switched to 6.5 points. So the Rams were favored by 6.5 points. Now keep in mind, the Raiders lost by only 5 points, which means that if you did place a wager on the Raiders to cover the spread, then technically you would have won. This brings us to a critical moment in the game. The Raiders were trying to punch it in to possibly tie the football game, possibly get a touchdown, then a 2-point conversion, tie the game at 20 points. Now they had failed to do so on third down. They're planning on maybe going for it on fourth down, but they had a false start penalty that made them get to the 9-yard line. So it would have been fourth down at the 9-yard line, fourth and goal with 9 yards to go. And because the clock here is at 2:50, down 8 points, a lot of people thought that they would just go for it. A lot of people thought, hey, maybe the Raiders should just go for it on 4th and 9, fourth and goal, because even if you get the field goal here, you still need to score a touchdown at some point. Now, some people would say, hey, they have all 3 timeouts, and they actually would eventually get a stop and get the chance to get the ball back. But even if they would have failed that 4th and goal at the 9-yard line, then you're putting the Rams starting at their own 9-yard line. If you get that stop, which they eventually did later on, then when the Rams punt the ball, you're in great field position. Instead, for those of you who watched this game, when the Raiders tried to finally get that touchdown to win the game, their final offensive drive of the game, they were pinned back deep in their own territory at their own 10-yard line. So you have other people who are not even Raiders fans at all, people who are NFL insiders, analysts, bloggers, and journalists all talking about this suspect decision that we're talking about here. 2:50 to go, 12-20. Instead of going for it, you're right freaking there. Instead of going for it, the Raiders elect to kick the field goal to still be down a touchdown no matter what. You got this guy, real Mr. ACL, saying there's only 2 explanations for Antonio Pierce kicking a field goal here. One, he's the worst head coach in NFL history, or he bet on the Raiders +7. So you got this guy accusing maybe Antonio Pierce of playing the spread here. Obviously, nobody could substantiate these allegations, but it just shows how not smart this decision was. You have a man, Tom Fornelli, who works for CBS Sports. When Antonio Pierce made this decision saying Antonio Pierce didn't come to play math, and you have other people saying the obvious here, which is like, whoa, why would you make this decision? It only makes sense if you were trying to play the spread, if you're trying to win the spread. You have Big Cat of Barstool Sports saying, Antonio Pierce, why are you kicking a field goal here? Like, they literally, people who root for Antonio Pierce, and think about this, Big Cat actually had Antonio Pierce on his show. He interviewed Antonio Pierce in this past offseason. This is a guy who has a professional media relationship with him, and he just doesn't understand why he's making this, in my opinion, boneheaded decision, a sketchy decision, something that we all just don't understand right now. Warren Sharp, who's very popular on the interwebs. I personally don't like this guy because of the Derek Carr slander, but he's pointing this out. Pierce is losing by 8 with 2:50 to go in the fourth. You need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, 4th and and goal at the 9. The Raiders kick a field goal. Now you still need a touchdown. What the heck? What is going on? I understand the offense has not been doing well all day. I get that. But at the end of the day, you're expecting your offense to now drive down the field, which is exactly what happened. So the offense has not been doing well all day. Okay, I get that. So you think that they're going to do well from their own 10-yard line now? No, I don't think so. Now, I'm not going to go as insane as some of these people and claim that Antonio Pierce bet against the spread, bet against the Rams on the spread, and he was just playing for the spread here, down 8 points, kicking the field goal. That's what these people are all claiming here. He could have thought this was a legitimately good strategy, but we've seen this same problem happen time and time again. It happened in the first game against the Chargers. This guy not going for it when you should, going for it when you shouldn't, just stuff that does not make sense. And I hate to bring this up. Raiders fans get upset when I bring this up, but these are just straight up facts, man. The fact that the guy has his bankruptcy filing in the background that we found out about in the summer in this past offseason, that has to raise an alarm. That has to. Anybody who works for any corporation, this would be something that people are concerned about. This makes you more liable to perhaps be involved in any type of insider trading. I'm not saying that he is, but it does raise alarms, and anybody who is dealing with that in the background would be more susceptible to that. That is just common wisdom, and that is why people are usually aware of these things before they hire people. But because he did that, and because this decision did not make sense for a lot of people, it's going to raise eyebrows, not only for Raiders fans, but NFL fans around the world, and hopefully not the NFL in general. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Let me know your thoughts on this. Subscribe to me if you want more content. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.